All right, let's keep going here. So we are talking about factoring trinomials using the AC method, and the AC method is where you multiply your A coefficient times your C, right? And remember, we're talking about AX squared plus BX plus C. That's what we have. So here's your A, here's your B, and then this is your C, right? So in this one, your A is 1 and your C is 9, right? This one, your A would be 1 and your C is 64. So the process is we're going to first of all figure out what AC is, when we multiply those together. Remember, when variables are together, like next to each other, in algebra, it means they're multiplying by each other. I'm going to write this lowercase so that it makes sense. All right, so we go 1 times 9. All right, we go 1 times 9, and that equals 9. So, and it's important to note that it's positive 9. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to figure out what factors of 9 are going to give me a positive 9 as a result. All right, so the factors of 9, well, 1 and 9, right? And then also negative 1 and negative 9. Okay, sorry, no tail meant there. And then we have 3 and 3 and negative 3 and negative 3, right? So you know, we have to remember our negatives now, and I know that's kind of hard, and everybody still likes to think only in terms of positives, but negatives are really important. They're important, and we can't forget about them, and that's just all there is to it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, once we know our factors, the ones that add up to give us this, to give us our B term, that's where our B term is important, right? So they've got to add up to positive 6. So that's our target number, right? Is that positive 6. So 1 and 9 make 10, all right? And then negative 1 and negative 9 make negative 10. And you'll find a pattern with these when you add them. 3 and 3 is 6. Negative 3 and negative 3 is negative 6. And we are looking for positive 6. So the golden winner is this one right here, right? 3 and 3. So now what we do is we decompose this this B term. So we go x squared plus, now instead of writing 6x, we're going to write it in 2 terms using these 2 factors. So plus 3x, and then we have another 3x plus 3x, and then finish writing it out, plus 9. And now this is where we get into factor by grouping, right? So if you remember that, we're going to just kind of, you know, take that and sort of put that off to the side there. I hope I left myself enough room. Take an x out, and then we can get x plus 3. And then for this one, we can take a positive 3 out, and then we're also left with the x plus 3. Sorry, that 9 looks really, really bad. Let's fix that. Oh, now. Half asleep still, people. All right, there we go. All right, now, take out your common factor, right, and pull that out front. Okay, so we have x plus 3, so that was this, right? And now, in the parentheses, put your leftovers, right? What's left? So you got x, and then you got another plus 3. So what we have here is we have something called a perfect square trinomial, because a square is when you take something and you multiply it by itself, and that's what we have happening here, even though it doesn't have to necessarily be just a number or a variable, right? It can be a combination of that. In this case, it's a binomial, right? Binomial square. So we call those perfect square trinomials because we can recognize them by looking at them, because you take the square root of this number, which is 9, and then you double it, and if it gives you that, then you've got a perfect square trinomial, and they're pretty easy to factor at that point once you start recognizing them. But the AC method works wonderful, and we generally write these in shorthand like this, okay? And later, once we start solving them, you'll see the power in writing it like this as opposed to writing it a different way. Okay, so that one is finished. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so now same deal here. So my A is 1 and my C is 64. So AC gives me 1 times 64, which is 64. And now factors of 64 that when added together are going to give me a negative 16. All right? So if you have a positive here and we want to get to a negative, that means that we're going to be, we'll have to have two things that multiply together to give me a positive, but when added together give me a negative. So the only thing that can be is two negative factors. Okay, so we got -1, negative 64. So I'm not even going to write the positive ones down because it's a waste of time. All right, and then we go -2, negative 32. All right, -4, negative 16, and we have -8 and -8. Okay, so and then at that point, once you go over the 8, it starts just putting these just in an opposite order, right? 3 doesn't go in there. Remember, the divisibility rule for 3 is add the two digits together, and if they're divisible by 3, the number is divisible by 3. But 6 and 4 is 10. 10 is not divisible by 3. All right, here's our winner, because -8 and -8 add up to give me -16. All right, I didn't write the sums there, but you can do that. Okay, so now let's decompose this. So we have p squared minus 8p minus 8p. So I took this -16p right here, and I used these to replace it, right? We call that decomposing because you're breaking it down. Okay, now finish writing it out. That's where the plus 64 comes in, and let's factor this by grouping. So let's pull a p out of this first two terms, get p minus 8. Now the second one, now I could pull out 8, right? And then this would have to be negative p if it were positive. But if I make this -8, -8 times p gives me -8. So that's the ticket, right? And then -8 times what gives me positive 64? Well, another -8, right? Because -8 times positive 8 gives me negative 64, and I need a positive. And that's hopefully this should guide you towards what you should get for this. That's the whole idea of grouping, right? Factoring by grouping. So there's that. There's your p minus 8 that you factor out, and then put the leftovers, which is my goofy way of saying this and this together in another one. And again, and not coincidentally, we have another set of binomials that are exactly the same that we can write like this. And this is going to be a skill that you're going to get a lot of practice with once we start completing the square, right? Is this p minus is coming up with things squared and all that. So it's something that's going to be very much on your radar. All right, we're going to stop the video here. Watch the next video. That's going to be on another. We call them special products. All right. So today we covered trinomial, perfect squares. So the next one will be difference of squares. All right, and we'll see you there.